On my 70th birthday, my son Lucas told me he was stuck at work, so I put on my navy coat, fixed my lipstick with shaking fingers, and took myself to dinner alone. I chose the steakhouse we used to go to after every big company win, back when he still called me his hero. The booth across from me stayed empty. I kept smiling at the waiter like that made it hurt less. Then, on my way back from the restroom, I heard Lucas's laugh behind the half-open door of a private room. I stopped so fast my hand grabbed the wall. He was inside with his wife and her mother, glasses raised, eating dinner on my company card. I almost walked in. I almost gave him the excuse before he even asked for it. Then I heard one word that froze me in place: capacity. His mother-in-law said, once the doctor signs it, the board won't have much choice. His wife asked, and the house? Lucas lowered his voice, but I still heard enough. If Mom can't manage her affairs, everything goes through me. For a second, the hallway smelled like steak, wine, and my own bad judgment. My son had not forgotten my birthday. He had been busy planning how to take my company, my home, and my right to say no. I went back to my table, paid my own bill, and walked into the cold night without making a scene. Lucas thought silence meant I was weak. What he forgot was simple. I built Hartley Properties before he knew how to spell profit. By sunrise, my lawyer had his first instruction from me. Do not warn him, just start looking. And before I tell you what we found, I want to know what you think a mother should do in that moment. Confront her child right there, or stay quiet enough to learn the whole truth. I did not walk into that private room. I wanted to. My hand was already on the brass handle, and for one hot second, I saw myself pushing that door open and asking my son how long he had been planning to take my life apart. But I knew Lucas. If I showed him what I had heard, he would cry, explain, blame stress, blame his wife, blame anything with a pulse. So I went back to my table, sat across from that empty chair, and finished a dinner that tasted like salt and smoke. Outside, the February wind cut through my coat while my driver held the car door open. "Everything okay, Mrs. Hartley?" he asked. I said yes, because women my age have spent a lifetime saying yes when the truth would make everyone uncomfortable. At home, I did not sleep. I sat in my kitchen until the sky turned gray, staring at the birthday card Lucas had mailed 2 days earlier. To the woman who taught me everything, it said. By 7 in the morning, I called Walter Price, my attorney. He had handled my contracts for 30 years, and he knew my voice enough to not waste time with small talk. I told him I needed a quiet review of every approval Lucas had made in the past year. "How quiet?" he asked. I looked at the card on the table. Quiet enough that he keeps smiling. For the next 3 days, Hartley Properties looked normal from the outside. Phones rang, tenants called, meetings happened. Lucas walked past my office twice a day with coffee and that soft, worried face he used when he wanted people to trust him. On the 4th morning, he came in and said, "Mom, about your birthday dinner, I feel terrible." I let him talk. He said Sabrina had arranged it. Her mother had insisted. Work had trapped him. He wished he had handled it better. Not once did he mention the private room, the doctor, or the word capacity. I looked at him and said, "Then pay back the company card." His smile slipped so fast most people would have missed it. I did not. That afternoon, Walter brought me the first real answer. Lucas had approved payments to a consulting company called Silverline Concepts. No reports, no real work, just neat invoices and empty words. The owner was Diane's brother. My son had not made one bad choice. He had built a quiet door into my company and handed the key to his wife's family. I wanted to break then. Instead, I pushed the folder back and said, "Find every payment connected to a doctor." That was the moment I stopped hoping I had misunderstood him. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you were in her place, would you keep pretending not to know, or would you make Lucas explain himself before the truth was complete? Walter did not call me for 2 days, and that scared me more than a bad answer would have. When he finally came to my house, he did not sit in the living room. He followed me straight into the kitchen, where the morning sun was hitting the sink and my coffee had gone cold. He placed one folder on the table and said, "Vivian, you need to read this slowly." The first page was from a private neurologist named Dr. Malcolm Voss. I had never met him, I had never sat in his office, I had never taken a memory test. But there, in clean black letters, he had already described me as confused, unstable, and unable to manage my own affairs. My hand went cold on the page. It is one thing to steal money from an old woman. It is another thing to steal her voice and call it concern. Walter showed me the payments next. Silverline had sent money to Dr. Voss 3 times in 6 months. Then came a draft letter for the board asking them to support Lucas as temporary controller of Hartley Properties for my protection. Then came the part that made me push my chair back and stand up. Sabrina had requested information from a private memory care home 2 hours outside Chicago, not for my future care, for my removal. I walked to the window and pressed my fingers against the glass. The yard was quiet, a little snow was melting near the fence. Everything outside looked normal, and inside my own family had been building a cage with soft words in legal paper. Walter wanted to confront Lucas that day. I said no. I needed him comfortable. I needed him careless. So for 1 more week, I let my son play the loving child. When he came to my office, I let him move papers around. When he asked if I felt tired, I smiled and said, "Some days are heavier than others." When he suggested I skip the Monday board meeting, I asked, "Do you think I should?" His eyes changed. He leaned closer and said, "Mom, people are worried. Let me handle this before outsiders embarrass you." He thought he was saving himself. He was being recorded by company security in my own office. By Friday, Walter had enough. Messages from Lucas's company phone showed Sabrina asking, "Is your mother still resisting?" Diane replied, "Push harder before she talks to Walter again." Lucas answered, "After Monday, she won't have a choice." I read that sentence once, then again, and something inside me settled. Not broke, settled. I stopped seeing the boy who used to run through my office with chocolate on his hands. I saw the man standing in front of me now, calm enough to lock his mother away and call it love. That night, I took my birthday card from the kitchen table and put it in the folder with the doctor report. Some evidence hurts more than bank records. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this part. What would have hurt you more, the fake doctor report, or finding out they had already chosen a place to send her? Monday morning, I walked into the boardroom wearing the same navy coat I had worn on my birthday. Lucas was already there, standing beside my chair like he was practicing ownership. Sabrina sat behind him with her hands locked around her purse. Diane looked calm, but her eyes kept moving toward Walter's folder. That told me she knew enough to be afraid. Lucas smiled at me like a son. "Mom," he said, "this is only about protecting you." I sat down slowly and looked around the table. Some board members looked uncomfortable. Some looked sad. One would not meet my eyes at all. Lucas opened his packet and began talking about my age, my stress, my recent confusion, and how painful it was for him to step in. His voice cracked in the right places. If I had not raised him, I might have believed him. Then he handed out the doctor's letter. Dr. Voss said I was no longer fit to manage my company. Walter waited until every copy was on the table. Then he stood up and said, "Before this board discusses Mrs. Hartley's capacity, you need to know who paid for that opinion." The room went still. Marin turned on the screen. First came Lucas's approvals to Silverline Concepts, then Silverline's payments to Diane's brother, then the transfers to Dr. Voss, then the emails about moving me into a private memory care home 2 hours away. Sabrina covered her mouth. Diane whispered, "This is illegal." I looked at her and said, "Yes, Diane, that is what I thought too." Walter placed one signed statement in front of the board chair. Dr. Voss had admitted he never examined me and withdrew the letter that morning after his payment trail was uncovered. Lucas stood so fast his chair hit the wall. "Mom, listen to me." I did not look away. "I listened on my birthday, Lucas. That was enough." He started crying then, not because he was sorry, but because the door he built for me had opened under his own feet. The board voted within minutes. Lucas lost all authority. His access was shut off before he left the room. Silverline was reported, Diane's brother was served, Dr. Voss faced investigation. Sabrina tried to say she was only following her mother, but messages have a cruel habit of remembering what people deny. Lucas called me for weeks. I listened to one voicemail. He said he was pressured. He said he loved me. He said I was still his mother. I deleted it before it ended. I removed him from my will, protected the company from family control, and gave profit shares to the employees who had stood beside me when blood forgot its duty. On my next birthday, I went back to that same steakhouse, same coat, same table. The waiter asked if I was waiting for someone. I looked at the empty chair across from me, and for the first time it did not hurt. "No," I said, "I'm not waiting anymore." I ordered dessert first, because peace should not have to wait behind anyone's apology. I did not lose my family that year. I lost the people who had been pretending to be one. And when I went home that night, I locked my door because I chose to, slept without fear, and woke up with my name, my home, and my life still mine. The end. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the ending. Which moment felt most satisfying to you? Lucas losing control, Diane being exposed, or Vivian finally choosing peace over another apology?